All right. People always ask me, how do you make your own wood cases for Marantz receivers? And it's really not a hard process. Just takes a little paying attention to detail. And you can do it with one small 2x4 sheet of MDF. Actually, you can have a lot left over, but depends on the size of the unit. And the process is the same for every single unit. So first thing you need is just a couple of sideboards. Now these have been cut already, but I have some scrap wood that I use. And what you want to do is put them up against the sides. Nothing on the bottom, except you do want your plate. Take the feet off. You want your plate and your screws. Okay? And all right, those are up against the side. But that would be a very tight fit, wouldn't it? So what you want to do is bring it out about a 1/16 on each side, total of 1/8. Now what you can do is you can put it flush and then measure, okay, the inner diameter, or just take the outer, and with this squeeze it's exactly 15 inches, okay, with that squeeze. So add 1/8, because what you're going to get is a 1/16 on each side, because your top plate and bottom plate are your guide. So if we measure this, I've actually got 15 and a 16, which is more than enough, because it's going to give you just enough room to slide this in. And worst comes to worst, if there's a little tightness, I'll show you something. There's a little screw on the side, okay, on each side, which you could remove. Let me make sure this is still showing. So what does that look like? Because, you know, like I said, you have to have your overhangs and everything, but they can't be too big. So let's lift this up. And this one I've already cut to size. And like I said, it was 15 and a 16. It's only a 16th over. Okay, so let's get it over the lip. Over the lip. And somewhat centered. Okay, I've cut it to the back too, and you know, pretty easy to figure that dimension. So let's put some sideboards in. All right, you see there's a little overlap there, and this one's a little tight. So I'm gonna push it over so that this side is a little cockeyed. Hold on. So this side is flush. Flush with the outside, not flush with the Marantz. It's just you want to make sure you've got your space. We've got to give it a little push. Okay, so let me lift it up. There, I am, well, hold on, it's blocking me. It's the screws underneath that make it hard to shift, but you know, you'll get it. Okay, so I'm gonna make this flush on the outside, and I've got a little gap, okay, so that you could slide this in. Now what about the other side? Okay, so make this, and we've gotta straighten everything out. It's a little tight, but see, when I pull that over, when I pull this one over, I've got just enough room, and I'll show you. See there, and see there, you know, and it'll be straighter when it's boxed, but there's a little room and a little room, okay? So now you would cut the top board to the same size, and yeah, everything's a little cattywampus because they're not glued together. But you see you've got an overlap, front to back, and it's smooth here, and smooth here. And these sideboards, I could probably shave off a 1/16 and have it sit a little lower, okay? But that's your basic assembly. And you want to, you know, it wouldn't hurt here and here. If I were to, it's more than enough, okay? So, now you ask yourself, well, how do I make this thing breathe? You know, Marantz always had a big vent. Okay, a couple of dollars on Amazon, and I'll post a link. This is a house vent. And here's the beauty of this house vent. It is just shy of the depth of the wood. So wherever you put it, it's not going to touch your electronics because it can't. It can't go deeper than the wood. So what I do is figure out where I want it, get my outline in there, right? Drill 4 holes, and using a jigsaw, cut it out. It doesn't have to be perfect because you've got a good more than a 1/4 inch lip everywhere around. You're not going to see it. So once you have your hole cut, and this is a box, you do your veneer. You do your veneer, and from the underside, and I do this before I do the top on. From the underside, you cut out the veneer that would be there. And again, don't worry about the edge being super, super, super perfect because it's going to get covered. And they have these convenient little holes that you can screw it into the wood and it's not going to move or go anywhere. Okay, so this is part 1, and I just wanted to show you how you form your box. And it doesn't matter. I've done these on 2220Bs. I'm going to do it on a 2240B. This is a 2015. It's the same process no matter what. And when you see this finished with the veneer, you'll understand. So that's it. All right, so did a test slide. Didn't just slip it in from the top. I slipped it in from the front. And as you'll see, there's a little bit of space there and a little bit of space there, and it's a perfect fit. So now we'll put the top on and you'll see what that looks like. So yeah, stay tuned. Now my son wants it in black, so even though it's going to be veneered, it will it's going to have just a black finish to it. It won't be stained, which, you know, to each his own. That's his style, but it's going to look beautiful. Okay, so now it's going to come time to measure and cut the hole for the vent. And what you're going to want to do is do your measurements on the sides and the back and the front so that you're centered, and you'll draw your lines and drill 4 holes, and I'll show you that, and cut it out with a jigsaw. Okay, so here we have the outline drawn, and I'll add the holes in a second, and it'll be okay to cut the line. You don't have to be inside the line because there's a little wiggle room on the vent, and that'll help you align everything for the final alignment. You know, curve in and get along the line and go to the next, and then just trim the ends, and you're good to go. So as I said before, it doesn't have to be mirror perfect. You see, I could probably trim that in a little bit, but it fits. Oh, let me get it in there. I just had it in there. Flush. There we go. So now you have your vent. And if you can see, it doesn't stick out below the wood, so it's not going to interfere with anything. And it's over the heatsink area, and we're good to go. But again, before you mount that in there and keep it in there, what you want to do is do your veneer. Do the whole panel, and don't try and cut out the hole first. Do it all flat. Then from underneath, make your trim. Okay, and then you can, you know, sand the sides in because you won't see it. Put your vent in, screw it in, and you're good to go. And then you can glue your top to the rest of the box, and then you do your side veneers and everything. But always do this part first, and you'll be good to go. So more coming up as we progress. So this is the end of part one. This is the mock-up of the box. No veneer yet, but just so you basically see how it's going to look. And you see, you can see it's over the heat sink and more than enough breathing room. What it looks like in the back. Slight overhang because you know, the stuff can be recessed, which is good. But yeah, part two is going to be the veneer. And I'll end this video with what some of my finished boxes look like. You know, this looks like such a basic box, but once you add the veneer and stain or whatever it is you want to do, they come out beautiful. And you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. Now, is it as refined? Maybe not, but I even put security brackets in the back from a back screw to the wood so that it can't slide out the front. For example, if you're pushing in an RCA plug in the back, it doesn't slide forward or anything. I believe the original Marantz had some kind of nuts or screws on the underside. Oh, and by the way, the feet get screwed into the bottom of this. So you have the original rubber feet, which, you know, took off the bottom plate, but you find an equidistant 2 inches from each corner and put them in, and you got a beautiful case. All right, hope you enjoyed part one of this video.